Hey guys, what's going on? It's Phil here from TechSmart, and today we are going to compare the brand new Galaxy S5 to its predecessor, the S4. But before we jump in, if you want to win a brand new Galaxy S5 or HTC M8, be sure to like the video and comment below. Now, Samsung seemed to have made all the right calls with the S4, but how does their new flagship stack up? Let's go ahead and find out. Looking at the Galaxy S5, it's very similar to the S4. However, the backplate has a soft touch, perforated texture similar to the original Nexus 7. The phone feels great in the hand, and even with the larger display, it's not really noticeably different than the S4. Looking at the front of the S5, you're greeted with a 5.1-inch 1080p Super AMOLED display with a pixels per inch count of 432. Looking down, you see the capacitive buttons and physical home button, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner. At the top is your 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera and speaker, and to the left is your sleep awake button, as well as on the right you have your volume rocker. On the bottom of the phone you have the cap covering the USB 3.0 charging port, and looking back up top you have your headphone jack and IR blaster. Flipping the device over, you see the 16 megapixel camera, LED flash, and the newly added heart rate monitor. Looking at the Galaxy S4, you see a 5-inch Super AMOLED display with 441 pixels per inch. Looking down, you see the home button and capacitive back and menu key. Looking back up, you'll find the 2 megapixel front-facing camera. On the right of the phone is the sleep-wake switch and the volume rockers on the left. At the very bottom, you have your USB 2.0 charging port, and all the way up top is your headphone jack and IR blaster. Flipping this device over, you'll see the plastic backing as well as the 13 megapixel camera. Finishing up the specs, the S5 features a 2.5 GHz quad-core Snapdragon processor, 2 GB of RAM, Adreno 330 graphics, LTE, Android 4.4.2, a 2800 mAh battery, and the device is IP67 certified, meaning it's fully dustproof and water resistant for 30 minutes in 1 meter of water. The S4 rocks an older quad-core Snapdragon 600 processor clocked at 1.9 GHz, 2 GB of RAM, the Adreno 320 graphics, a 2600 mAh battery, LTE, and NFC. While the phones look similar, the software is quite different. Both phones run Android 4.4 KitKat with Samsung's custom interface. However, the version on the Galaxy S5 features rounded icons throughout the settings and a more flat-looking interface. The S5 also integrates a little bit deeper with S Health, allowing you to track your calorie intake, steps, and even heart rate with the dedicated hardware. Compared to the S4, Samsung has really just tied up loose ends and refined their user interface with the latest iteration. The display looks great on both devices. Both feature AMOLED displays which create deep contrast and vibrant colors. It can be a bit overwhelming at times, but more often than not, it looks great. The S5 has a 5.1-inch screen with 432 pixels per inch, and the S4 has a 5-inch screen with 441 pixels per inch. The difference is very faint, but the larger size is noticeable when comparing them side by side. Either way, since both phones have just about the same panels, despite the different sizes, they're nearly identical. Speaking of identical, let's look at the cameras. The S5 offers a 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera and 16 megapixel rear shooter. The camera in the front is decent, but the 16 megapixel rear-facing camera is the real star. While this video is not comparing the S5 to the iPhone, this is truly the first smartphone camera that I can feel that it honestly rivals the quality of the iPhone 5S. But I digress. Images look sharp and colors were true to life. Samsung has tweaked the camera software to help produce better images, offering very fast autofocus. The camera on the Galaxy S4 is still great, and you can honestly produce photos that look identical to the S5, but the best part of the S5's camera is how fast everything is. I found myself spending more time taking shots on the S4, while the S5 got them right the first time. Also, in addition to the great photo camera, 1080p video looks great, and the S5 even shoots in 4K. Now don't get your hopes up, the quality is good, but with no stabilization, good luck not getting motion sickness when watching your videos. Either way, the cameras are very similar, but the speed and reliability of the S5 takes it away from me. Looking at the benchmarks of the two devices we tested, Antutu, GFX Bench, Geekbench, and Quadrant Standard, these were our results. Battery life on both devices was pretty decent. The S5 and its 2800 mAh battery lasted about 8 to 10 hours with moderate usage. The S4's 2600 mAh battery was just a bit less, giving me about 7 to 8 hours of battery life. However, with the S5, you're actually going to get a new feature called Ultra Power Saving Mode, which essentially slows processes and desaturates the display. The result is crazy battery life. Now, this is not a feature you're going to keep on at all times, but if you fear that your phone is going to die, go ahead, turn it on, and watch the phone slowly sip at your battery. The feature alone gives the S5 the advantage in terms of battery performance. Now, the S5 and S4 both offered new features for their time. Looking at the S4, you have Air View, which allows the display to recognize your finger a few centimeters above the display. We also saw new camera modes such as dual camera, allowing you to use the front and back camera at the same time. The S5 really packs quite a few new features, starting with the fingerprint scanner. Similar to the iPhone 5S, you can now unlock your phone without entering a password on screen. The scanner also goes one step further because you can actually use it in applications like PayPal. Next is the IP67 certification. Now, I don't typically fear dust getting in my phone, but the water resistance feature is really nice. The only flaw I noticed was that there's a small amount of water that made its way under the back cover, just kind of something to take note of. And last, the S-Health integration is really nice. It's clear that 2014 is going to be the year of health and technology, and the S5 is all in. The heart rate scanners seemed to work fine, and with S-Health plastered throughout the phone, it was a constant reminder that I need to keep in motion. So here's the hardest part. The Galaxy S5 is a really great phone, but so is the S4. Both phones are very similar, and because of that, I'd say the S5 is not worth upgrading to if you're coming from an S4. The S5 feels more like an iterative upgrade. It's really just Samsung fixing the problems they had with the S4. I think of it more as a Galaxy S4 Plus. If you do want to pick up a Galaxy S5, you can find it in stores April 11th in 4 different colors: blue, white, black, and gold. However, if you want to save some money, I'd say wait till April 11th, then pick up the Galaxy S4 for whatever lower price it drops to. Anyways guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know which phone deserves a spot in your pocket, and be sure to like this video and subscribe for more Galaxy S5 coverage. I'll see you in the next one. Later.